Yeah, pick me up. Nothing.
Go play for dark teams.
Give him 2 minutes, let's go. I got it. I got 5, Matt.
Yes, sir.
That's fine. You think that it's your fault?
You ever wondered what actors and actresses do when they have to get in shape really fast for a movie? Because I can promise you, it's not the same diet that you're following and the same training plan that you try. The truth is that Hollywood's elite actors can get ripped while adding 12, 15, even 20 pounds of muscle in just a few weeks because they follow a long forgotten and surprising
31. Number 1. Coming. I was going to actually throw. I love that.
Why doesn't every home in the US have solar panels? The number one reason is not about sunlight or weather or even politics. It's actually just because most people don't know that they may actually be able to get paid after they install solar if they qualify. People just assume they have to pay tens of thousands of dollars upfront to buy the panels and thousands more just to get technicians to install them. But the truth is that if you qualify, you may now be able to get paid over $2,039 after install just to get the panels and a highly advanced battery backup system, all without you having to pay a penny for any of the equipment or the installation at the time of install. And once you have it, you'll have energy freedom like never before. You'll generate a portion of your own electricity, potentially making your power meter turn backwards. And this freedom also means added protection from the unreliable power grid. We all saw what happened in Texas when winter storms cut power to millions of homes. And these weather events seem to be happening everywhere. But by creating and storing your own power, you don't need the grid to keep the lights on. It's incredibly easy to find out if your home is eligible for a solar upgrade to give you energy freedom and added control of your own electricity supply. You just click the link, answer a few simple questions, and in 60 seconds, you will start the process of finding out if solar is
Let's go help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual. Okay, who sat at my desk?
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big
Stream 85 plus channels and save up to $500 a year with YouTube TV. Try it free.
With payments, payroll, banking, and live bookkeeping,
Hello? Is this thing on? We're finally back. Boy, what a doozy of a night it was. Yes, it's Wednesday. Do what?
Yeah, that's what a GHH looks like.
You didn't mess anything up.
Start back up now.
Okay.
Let's go. That was you when we started.
What's up, Eric? How you doing? Gio, if you're still here, greetings, my friend. How's everybody doing tonight? Gio, read the comments. Apparently you weren't here. I guess maybe the comments don't show up. Let's see. Okay, put that there. This goes here. All right, guys, we're ready. It's time. Or something like that. Eric, I need to get back to your message. I saw you sent me a message earlier. I haven't had a chance to answer it yet. Let's see. No, Matthew Clark, I am not late. You saw the message on the screen. Do what, babe? No, it wasn't. So yeah, the podcast. Well, yeah, the podcast starts at 9 to 9:15 every week. So my son had a basketball game tonight. Game started at 6 o'clock. Adam, you didn't miss nothing. We just got here. So the game started at 6 o'clock, and we did not leave that gymnasium until after 8 o'clock. There was 4 regulation periods, and then there was 5 overtimes. You heard me. 5. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. 5 for my Dave Chappelle fans. If you know, you know. So we were a little bit behind, you might say. I had to get both the kids home, get them fed, get my insane daughter ready for bed. She's all squared away listening to Sleepy Paws. Kind of wish that's what I was doing. But we made it. How's everybody doing tonight? It's winding down. What's everybody going to be for Halloween? Is anybody playing any Halloween tournaments? I always see these Halloween tournaments that are like, people dressing up as something silly, or, you have to be dressed up in costume in order to be a participant in the tournament. And I always thought that stuff looked fun, but I have little dignity anyway, but I can't sacrifice what dignity I have left to do something like that. I don't think anyway. Like, the only way that I would do something like that is if I could wear a banana outfit. That'd be a weird looking banana. So I'm not sure that's in the cards. I do have a friend of mine that bowled a 300 in a banana suit one time on a Halloween night at the bowling alley. Obviously it's a bowling alley, but I bowled a 300 in a banana suit. And yes, Gio, the 2 words every man fears hearing from a woman: I'm late. Getting my list of topics and whatnots pulled up that I do want to cover tonight. If anybody has any topics or questions or comments or anything you want to talk about, feel more than free to chime them in while I'm working on getting this list pulled up. We're just going to kind of free ball it tonight. This, usually I'll sit down and do me like a little bit of research, and let's see, sorry. I'll do me a little bit of research and find some topics and things that there is to talk about, but I just didn't get a chance tonight. Everything's kind of running behind. But I did have a handful of stuff now, so I did want to pull them up. So let's talk about, I do know one thing I want to talk about. If any of you follow conference softball, or, you know, tool around on the old Scout at all, I'm sure you've seen or heard the grumblings of Josh Riley and the absurd amount of money that he will soon be paid to play softball. I'm looking for the article here so I can read straight from the article. I can't remember which article it was, but long story short, this man is getting ready to make more money than some people make in a life. I shouldn't say make in a lifetime, but yeah, I guess you could say that. A very large amount of money to play slow pitch softball. I've heard contract in upwards of $500,000 to do nothing more than hit. Like, literally show up, swing a bat, hit 850, and go home. And he is good at it. Do not get me wrong. The guy is what is considered a professional hitter, and that is an accurate assessment. The guy does nothing but hit. But then to not even play the field, though, that's crazy. But if the sponsors got rumor, talking. If sponsors have that kind of money to throw around and invest in this game, I mean, more power to them. I don't know that. At what point do you mandate some kind of salary cap for that stuff? And yeah, Adam, I'm not saying he's not a good outfielder, don't get me wrong, but like, you're paying a man that amount of money, you're not paying him to be an outfielder, you're paying him to be a hitter, bottom line. So you almost don't even let him touch the field. I personally wouldn't let him touch. If I'm paying him that amount of money to be a hitter, and that is what he is exceptional at, you can't let him touch the field. Because if he's not hitting, he's not a defensive asset. Again, not saying he can't play defense, but in this situation, you are a hired gun for your bat. You almost can't let him touch the field, and that kind of sucks. Like, imagine doing nothing but EHing for the next. I think somebody mentioned there was a term to the contract. It was like 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. That's a lot of money. I ain't getting paid no money other than what Google pays me, because you guys like to watch my videos, and I'm gonna tell you something. It's not even pennies compared to what that is. So Matthew Clark says, the drama of D Nationals that set Old Scout ablaze. I mean, which drama? I mean, there was a lot of that took place on Facebook too. If you're talking about, I'm scrolling through here. If you're talking about the whole, A player, B player playing D thing, and a lot of that took place on Facebook as well. People bashing in the comments saying this person played that, this person played that. I mean, it is crazy to me that, like, if you kind of look through someone's player, I'm not saying that I haven't. I'll be the first to say that now. I mean, I've looked through people's player history before, just like nosing around on a team. If a team looks really good or catches my attention, and maybe even just doing some scouting, trying to figure out who we are playing. And I've seen there was a situation a couple years ago where I saw we played a team that had a B player on it, playing D, was legitimately registered as B for the year, and then, but somehow was playing D. They had no C players. Maybe the state allows, if you have no C chips, you can have a B chip. I don't know. I don't think that would be a terrible rule. But there was a classified, currently 2019 B player on the roster at a tournament. And then also the same tournament, coincidentally enough, another situation where somebody actually pointed this out to us. But like, I guess being part of the game, listen to me, following the game, and like watching the conference events and the conference games on the live feeds and everything else, and following DW stuff, SW48 on YouTube. Be sure and check his content out. He's always following the conference guys around, doing all the coverage for the tournaments and things like that. I noticed it, and I just was really just kind of like whatever, because there's nothing we can do about it. We're playing D, and there was a player out there that had a set of uniforms on from an A team like 2 years before, and he's playing D now. And this wasn't like one of those tryout things, because that's what the big thing was with this year's deal. It was a tryout thing. I get the tryout thing. I get the tryout card. So basically, to my understanding, you are allowed 2 tournaments to try out at a higher level before you catch the letter. So if I'm playing D and an A team calls me up and says, hey, we like what you're doing on the field, why don't you come play with us this weekend and give it a shot? I play that one tournament with him, and maybe I decide it's not for me, or vice versa, whatever the situation is. That's the only tournament you play. That is considered a tryout, and you're not now classified an A player. You still stay D. Now, if you stay with this team, play, I think you're allowed 2 tournaments as a tryout. I don't think it's 2 tournaments with 2 different teams. So maybe somebody can find or clarify the rule for me. But to my understanding, it is a tryout with, you get 1 tryout up to 2 tournaments with 1 team before you catch whatever letter that class is. Obviously up, because we're talking like basically A/B conference level type stuff. But anyway, we were playing against a team, like he was out there playing D, rocking his uniforms from a conference team literally a couple of years prior. And then another deal I saw last year on a roster, somebody pointed out to me, it's like, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, what would you do about this? The player was B, then the player was A, then they went 2 years without having any kind of sanctioned play in the books. So they went B, A in the same year, and then D, letter D as in dog. So you go from B to A all the way down to D after not playing for 2 years. Somebody had to approve that. Maybe you know the right people. Maybe your appeal letter was really good. I mean, my appeal letter sucked last year, I guess. So I did try to appeal. Sonic caught the bump to C. And the proactive side of me said, submit your appeal in the event that something goes awry and you end up without a team. So I wanted to be D just to give myself a chance to be on a D team. Obviously, I would be D Elite, so I couldn't go down and play E. And I submitted my appeal basically on the basis of I did not have a good year at the plate last year. I was a sub 450-ish OBP hitter. Sorry, average hitter, OBP, whatever. I think it was OBP. I'll just be 100% honest. And as far as U-Trip stuff goes, our record as a team was under 500 with me present. That team won GSL State and won 4 or 5 other tournaments, and not a single one of them I was at. The only tournament that I was at that they won, I had to leave early to go to work, and we got knocked into the if game, and that's why I had to leave and go to work. It was the only tournament that we did well in. Otherwise, the team was 500 on the year, and I'm hitting 450 is basically essentially a backup pitcher because I served no other value and was just like completely denied, not a chance. I don't know what I'm going to have to go on this year. Sonic's power ranking was good. Their record, I want to say they're around 500 in C. I haven't looked at it. I don't pay that close attention to it. But I want to say their record is around 500 in C, but their power ranking is good. And basically, power rankings are based on who you play, their record, and the record of basically the combined record of the people that they've played. There's a lot of different variables that go into the algorithm, and they have a decent power ranking, and I was on their roster for, I think, 2 or 3 tournaments. Never touched the field, not one time. So I'll be curious to see if I can somehow pull off an appeal in the event that I need to drop down and play D. Kind of a plan set in stone for next year. Nothing too official yet. I say set in stone, it's more like set in dust. It's drawn in the dust on the stone. But more on that to come. So yeah, Adam, yeah, you can ask to be reclassified. That is 100% a thing. But I wish there was a better process to it than the directors. Oh, that was a big bark. Other than the directors, basically discretion, whether they feel like, you deserve to be there or not. Like, being brutally honest with myself, like I have no business in C. But that's my ranking, and until I can win an appeal, that's what I'm stuck as. Yes, I can play on a D team as a C player, which you only get 3 of. And there's a lot of C players in this area that kind of unfortunately caught a letter when they shouldn't have. Adam says he lives in Sandbag Capital, USA. They let guys do whatever they want. That's funny. It does seem like there are those places that you can get away with just about anything. It's kind of crazy, really. It is kind of crazy. So, anybody keeping up with baseball? Oh my gosh, hang on just a second. I gotta let the dog out. Stranger danger. But anyway, so for those that do follow baseball, who you got in the series? I'm leaning Braves. I am leaning Braves, like, all Astros cheating stuff aside. There's people that are, completely against the completely against the whole cheating scandal that went down with the Astros, and to be 100% honest, I think they were just the first ones to get caught. I'd definitely say there was probably more than one team doing things like that. Now, whether they were doing them to the extent that the Astros were, I don't have an answer to that. But all bias of that stuff aside, I do have the Braves winning the series. They knocked off the Dodgers, and the Dodgers were a damn good baseball team. It was kind of crazy watching all that unfold. And really and honestly, the Braves should have put the Dodgers away sooner than they did. But the Braves having a pitcher go down, one of their best pitchers, is going to hurt. But I do have the Braves winning the series. Gio says, am I playing with Sonic next season? Gio, I didn't play with Sonic this year. I showed up to like 2 or 3 tournaments, got a handful of at-bats in one of them, and the other one I didn't play in at all. So I haven't been with Sonic since March, maybe. Brian and I went our separate ways. We're still best friends. He starts day shift next week. I haven't really been doing a whole lot of hitting. I've been doing a lot of golfing. So, and it's driving Brian absolutely insane. I think it's really funny because it's driving Brian absolutely insane. So, I've been golfing because he's really like not my only BP partner, but he and I's schedules used to work really well together. So I was on nights and he's on second shift. We work in the same building in the same department, and we're basically like back-to-back shifts. So I would get off in the morning at 7:30, and he gets off at 11:30 the night before. So basically, when I'm going into work, I see him leaving work. So he would go home, go to bed, and then get up and come hit with me when I got off work. And we used to just have all the time in the world to go shoot content. And then I went to first shift, and that kind of put a kink in things. And it's not that I couldn't make scheduling work to go hit with anybody else, because I have hit with other people a couple different times. But as far as like free time and stuff going on at home, it just didn't work out to go hit a whole bunch. But I picked up golf, and I have been golfing a little bit, going to the driving range, messing around with that stuff. And I got the bug. If you haven't listened to the previous podcast, but if you have, you heard me talk about it. So I went to a little par 3 course before league the other night, and went with a friend of mine from work. He's a really good golfer, and he was kind of like, I was one of those deals where I used to golf a little bit back in the day, and I used to be like decent. When I say decent, I mean like I could play 18 holes and with one ball. That's good enough for me. And we went to this par 3 course. It had been 5 or 6 years since I started golfing before I picked it back up again here like a month ago. Go to this par 3 course, and I kind of get the feel of things again, and he's kind of helping me get my swing line down a little bit. And I start hanging with him a little bit through like 4 or 5 holes. He and I are like on the green in 1, putting in 2 or 3 sometimes, making a long putt. And I was like, man, I'm feeling good. And then we went to this one hole that had basically like a big water hazard right in front of the tee box. And I got nervous. I was like, God, don't hit a ball in the water. Don't hit a ball in the water. Don't hit a ball in the water. So naturally, what's the first thing you do? You hit a ball in the water. And it was just like after that, the wheels just fell off. Absolutely fell off. There was a couple of holes. There was one hole I got so mad. I just turned around and just hit my ball in the woods. Probably the best shot I hit all day. I just turned around and hit my ball into the woods and just walked away. I was like, let's go. I'm done. But it's like Quentin said, if Q's in here, it's like he said, it's like you make those 1 or 2 shots that always keep you coming back. And it's kind of funny because like I can relate to some of the errors that I make in golf to the stuff I do in softball and the stuff that other people have done as well. You know, it's always the you got to stay true to yourself in a swing. If you play golf at all, you understand striking the ball is key. It's essential. You can't go changing and tweaking with your swing because it's going to change how you strike the ball. But you always find yourself wanting to get a little fancier. You know, can I get a little more spin, or can I get a little more loft instead of just staying true to your game? But the same thing happens on a ball field. I want to hit that blade of grass, or I need to just, maybe I can just push this ball down the line, you know, or maybe I think I can hit this ball out of here. You overthink it, you try way too hard, and then you screw up. Same thing in golf. It's been an adventure, and I'm not done yet, much to Brian's disappointment. But Brian is coming to day shift next week. Very excited for that. I'm going to have my own lunch date every day. So that'll be fun. And the content grind is really over. I've got like 1 or 2 bats left that I want to film, and then the content grind is going to be done for a little while. I'm still going to be hitting and doing that kind of thing. We're going to kind of refocus some of my energy in the off season to a couple different things, and then hopefully come back for 2022 ready to rock and roll. Gio says that to start my own team, call it Cutting Balls / BP Hero. Nah, I ain't running no team. I don't want no part of those headaches. I ran a team before, and about the only fun part of it was getting to play with my friends. Yikes. So why is Adam says, why is Dusty Baker wearing black latex gloves? Because of the Rona. I do believe I read that somewhere, and Gio does also confirm that as well. I read that somewhere because somebody was asking about that. I guess he's not necessarily a germaphobe, but he's just trying to be conscious of what his surroundings. But my Bears let me down. I'm just going to kind of skip around here to just a little bit of everything. My Bears let me down. Big time. 30-3 was the final score. Justin Fields having 5 turnovers is definitely like a train wreck that you didn't want to see. So I didn't get to watch the game. I was on the road. That's a story for here in a minute. But I had a guy that was with us giving me updates on the game. It's like, after a while, I think the score was whatever. It was a blowout at this point. And he says, hey, he says, this is the score right now. And I said, man, did I tell you to tell me that? Like, did I ask for the score? I said, I understand that, I'm a fan and everything, but man, if you ain't got nothing but bad news, damn, son. It was just kind of, I was just giving him crap. But it's like, I didn't ask for a score update. I don't know why you gave me one. It was worse than it was earlier. So I don't know. The Buccaneers are good. That's kind of goes without saying, but man, the Bears are just a shit show right now. And quarterbacks are going to have bad games. Mahomes is out of sorts right now, like literally and physically, but that's too soon. But anyway, so he's Justin Fields is just out of sorts right now. He's had his moments. He's had his moments where he looks good, but then it also doesn't help that he's running for his life. A majority of the time, he's got to run and roll out to even have time to throw. Your O-line just collapsing around you does you no good at all. And on the topic of quarterbacks, yes, Adam Trubisky was that bad. I hate to say it, but he was. So, speaking of quarterbacks, hot take here. I think Mac Jones might be the best quarterback that nobody's talking about right now. Obviously, he's was drafted high and everything else, but everybody's talking about Sunshine and Justin Fields and all these other guys, and nobody's really talking about Mac Jones. Mac Jones was put in a great position to succeed, do not get me wrong, but he's done a great job of making sure he's going to succeed. He's looked great. I watched him play twice now. Yeah, both times I thought, like, damn, this dude is dealing. Throwing dimes. Just looking composed. That's a big thing for like a rookie quarterback, just to look composed. The Patriots have never done, I say never done, I was going to say never done a good job drafting quarterbacks, but clearly they did because they got Tom Brady, but that was the last time they drafted a quarterback that was worth a damn. But they just, what's the word I'm looking for? In years past, they just haven't done great in the draft. They had a stat up one night that over the last however many picks they'd had, almost 20 picks, there's only 2 guys still in the league, and one was a rookie the year before, and one was a rookie that year. They just don't do well drafting, but they did a good job with Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is good. Mac Jones is a guy that nobody's talking about, and it's impressive to watch him play. And yes, the Colts are bad. So like I said, we're bouncing all over the place here tonight. So get this story. It's Sunday morning, 8 a.m. My mother calls me. And she says, hey, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm sleeping. And she says, I might need you to come get me. Can you come get me in the Suburban? I was like, yeah, sure. Where are you at? She goes, I'm in Des Moines, Iowa, which is 3.5 hours away from me. I said, maybe next time tell me where you're at before I agree to come get you. So she was in Nags Head, North Carolina on vacation, and she flew from Norfolk, Virginia to Chicago, Illinois. Was supposed to go Chicago to Columbia to get home. So she gets to Chicago, lays over, and then flies to Columbia. It's a very short flight from Chicago to Columbia. and they get like halfway to Columbia and they hit a bird. So they're like, oh, we got to go back. We got to go back and inspect the plane because I guess the bird hit the windshield. So they go back to Chicago, inspect the plane. Everything's good. They hem-haul around there for a while. Well, now they need fuel because they've consumed fuel. And you gotta, I don't know the exact rule, but you got to have like a bunch of fuel in your plane, a bunch of extra. So then they mess around for a little while and they finally get the plane fueled up and they get back in the air to head to Columbia. And now weather's passing through Columbia. They try to land twice. They can't. They can't go back to Chicago. So they divert to Des Moines, Iowa, which is, you're going from the middle of Missouri. Geography time here. You're going from the middle of Missouri straight north to the middle of Iowa. And she gets up there. They land the plane, and they're trying to decide, do we try and make another attempt at Columbia? Do we go back to Chicago and try again? Do we go back to Chicago and lay over and try again tomorrow? Do we stay in Des Moines and try again tomorrow? There's all these different variables and all these different decisions they're trying to make. Taking votes on the plane of like, who wants to do this and who wants to do that. And one guy got all mad. He was mad and grumbling around. My mom spent 15 hours in a mask. She showed up at the airport, put a mask on, and then you have to have it in the airport. You have to have it on the plane. She was miserable. Everybody on the plane was miserable. Everybody was angry. This one guy was mad. And he kept yelling at everybody, and he called the stewardess back and he says, hey, he pulled his mask off his face and he goes, now you have to let me off the plane. The stewardess goes, sir. She goes, yes, I do have to let you off the plane, but I can promise you, if you ever want to get on a plane again, you will put that mask back on. My mom said he put that mask on and didn't say another word the entire time. That's like a big deal. That's a very big deal for the FAA right now and all these airlines is making sure that the people wearing the masks and everything else. And this isn't a COVID talk. We're not going to dive down the topic of COVID. Just simply the fact that that's their thing. And if you don't do it, you don't fly. But I thought it was funny that this guy thought he found a loophole and she reminded him real quick that he did not. So anyway, they get stuck there. By the time they figured out what they wanted to do, they weren't going to have time. The crew was the pilot and everybody on the plane was going to run out of time to fly. You're only allowed so much time to work, and they were going to run out of time. So now this becomes a problem for the airline and not just everybody else, because if this was the deal where they had just decided to lay over in Des Moines for the night and, due to weather, everybody was basically, up the creek without a paddle. They had to find their own hotel. They had to lay in the airport or do whatever in the airport, find something to do until 12:15 the next day, until that plane took off again. The airline did not see it as their problem, but the second that the crew ran out of time to work, it now becomes the airline's problem. So she ended up getting her hotel paid for, which is cool. And they said, we're going to regroup, try again tomorrow. I'll be here at 12:15 p.m. and we're going to try again tomorrow. Well, there's more weather coming through Missouri. If you're local, Missouri had a few pretty bad tornadoes come through. So there was obviously more weather in the forecast. And when my mom called me, she's explaining a little bit of this to me. And I said, well, why don't you just let me come get you? And she said, well, they said to call at 10 o'clock and they're going to give us an update on when we can leave and what we're doing. I said, or I could just come get you. I could already be on the way. By 10 o'clock, I could be an hour away. And she said, we're just going to ride it out and just see what they say at 10 o'clock. And my gut told me, just get in and go. Just go get the Suburban, because she had her and a couple of her friends and all their baggage, so I had to get her Suburban. Go get the Suburban and just head up there. It's a 3.5-hour drive. Worst case scenario, I'm like an hour and a half into my drive. I could stop in Kirksville. They got a Hy-Vee up there. I should love shopping at Hy-Vee, doing grocery shopping. Grab some groceries, head home. So I hit the road, and very, very shortly after I hit the road, she says, why don't you go ahead and come get me? I said, good news, I'm on the way. So I get up there and get her picked up. It's like 1:55 when we hit the road to come back south towards home. The plane boarded at 12:15. They did not depart until a little after 3 o'clock. And Des Moines, Iowa to Columbia is a 28-minute flight, and they were in the air doing something for almost 2.5 hours. Whether they landed in Columbia or not, I don't know how to look, and I don't know. But either way, they were screwing around in the air for 2.5 hours. The flight finally landed somewhere. I'm assuming Columbia, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, just based on the weather. That flight landed somewhere at 4 o'clock, and we pulled in the driveway here at home at like 4:15. That's just absolutely insane. That was my Sunday, because I wanted to watch football, wanted to watch my Bears. That's probably the reason they didn't do good, is because I wasn't watching. Because, BP Hero's not watching. We'll just chalk this game. Although I am a Tom Brady fan, and it does disappoint me to see the Bears do so bad and Tom Brady do so good. It's a weird vibe. Sometimes it just bees that way. But, speaking of that football game, let's talk about something. Has anybody heard the news story going around? Let's see if I can find the exact article so I can read off everything that was given to this man. Tom Brady. No. Alright, so let's see if we can get a list of everything that this man was given. Mike Brown's. So Tom Brady throws his 600th career touchdown pass. Mike Brown catches the ball and goes and flips it into the stands, and was like, hey, we need that ball. So they started doing some negotiating. And I'm trying to find a list. Okay, here we go. So it is estimated that this football, current day, was worth $500,000. Like, it would have sold at auction for $500,000 on the spot. It's that much of a piece of history. And this man who catches this football ends up trading this football back to basically Tom Brady. Tom Brady wanted the ball, and they did some negotiating. He got 2 signed jerseys plus a helmet from Brady, a signed Mike Evans jersey plus the cleats he wore in the game, a $1,000 gift card to the Buccaneers team store, which is, hey, come spend money at our store, and Buccaneers season tickets for the rest of 2021 and 2022. And Brady also threw in 1 Bitcoin for this person, which is worth roughly around $62,000. And he says one more thing. He wanted to meet Tom and play around the golf with him. And Brady was basically like, nah. Not happening. He didn't directly shoot him down, but I think it was one of those questions you just kind of whiff past and hope nobody brings back up again. But it would be cool to shoot it around a golf with Tom Brady. I'm sure, his golf balls will be more deflated than everybody else's, but it's neither here nor there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just what my wife just said. She goes, he's the first one that, just the first one that got caught deflating footballs. You're right. It's just a bad time for it. That's what Gio just said. Gio just said, did he throw a deflated football? Yeah, I should have had that guy check it, give it a good squeeze real quick. But, so the question is, did this man receive enough in compensation for a football that's worth $500,000? In a day and age where greed is a very powerful thing, it kind of does make you stop and think. Should he have cashed out? Should he have sold this football? Because, essentially stop and think about it. It was Tom Brady. He could give you whatever you wanted for that football. You could have made him work real hard to get that football. It's Tom Brady. He could have got you anything. And you got 2 jerseys, a helmet, and then Mike Evans jersey and some stinky shoes, a Bitcoin, some season tickets that what if this guy was from out of town? What if he lives 4 hours away? Okay, touche. Yeah, that is true. So my wife did bring up the point that maybe, he negotiated for the tickets because he plans on coming to the games. So, I'll give you that. And $1,000 to the team store, which again is basically like, hey, it's $1,000 worth of credit. You can buy like 5 things because markup is insane at the stadium, and in reality, we have $100 in that stuff that you just paid $1,000 for. Whatever. But did he do the right thing? I'll be 100% honest. I thought about this long and hard. I mean, I'm not going to not let someone compensate me for that. But like, what if the guy's just a fan? What if he just wanted to do the right thing? What if he didn't want to just like completely cash out, get $500,000 for the football, and here's the deal. Either way, he gets criticized. He gets criticized for trading all of this stuff for this football, or he gets criticized for keeping the football and trading it off, or keeping the football and selling it. Either way, he's getting criticized. And I am fairly certain, like I said, it's Tom Brady, and he does Tom Brady things. That man would not have left that stadium with that football. I'm not saying Tom Brady would have went and beat him up and take the football. But he would have basically stopped at nothing to have that football. Yeah, and that's, yeah. Mike, you're right. Mike says, imagine if he sold it and that person's greed was worse. Yeah. That's also a thing. Like I said, I personally, I thought about this long and hard. It was like you, in society's eyes, you don't win either way. Society's eyes, it's all cash out, take the money, run. And then the other part of society says, well, hey, just give them the ball. Me personally, I'm negotiating for something because, I mean, they're going to offer you something. So if they're offering something, you take it. But I'll take whatever they're offering. Maybe a chance to like meet Tom. Honestly, that would be one of my stipulations. Honestly, is to meet Tom Brady. And maybe just that. Maybe just like a handshake, a conversation, a dinner, golf, something to just show that the gesture is appreciated, that I wasn't an asshole and gave your football back. And that's it. Just move on. It's like if something was of such significance to me personally, like say I make the conference sometime never, and I set the record hitting home runs, or whatever the situation might be, and I whatever the ball is, I need that ball. And I'm a person of relevance. Just to see what they want, like, that's awesome. Like, I wouldn't mind meeting up with you, hanging out with you. Like, obviously, you share the same interests. You love football because you're freaking 50 years old, Tom Brady, and still playing. And this guy's there at the football game supporting your team. Adam says a kiss. Everyone would remember the guy who asked for a kiss from Tom Brady. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's it. That's the only thing I want. Give me a kiss, Tom. That is funny. So I got a friend of mine. If anybody follows country music at all, they know who John Party is. I have a friend of mine. He's a big John Party fan. He's been to several concerts, and I do believe Scott even said that like John Party remembered him. He's been at so many like after shows and like meet and greets, whatever. So finally, Scott worked up the nerve, and he looks at him and he says that it's like they're getting ready to take a picture together, and he says awkward prom photo, and he just says not a chance, just take the picture. But the fact that he asked, my guy's got the stones to ask. I'm giving credit for that no matter what. That is gold in my opinion. But unless anybody's got anything else, I think we're going to call it a wrap. I'm just kind of rambling. We haven't even hardly talked about softball at all tonight. It's just kind of one of those, man, the mind is everywhere kind of nights. The whole 5 overtime game thing just absolutely had my mind in a blender. And I was proud of the kids, really I was. It's junior high basketball. They were down, was it 14-2 at halftime? 14-2. Down 14-2 at halftime. And the final score of the game was, I believe, 35-32. No, it had to be a 1-point game because at one point, one of our kids could have made a free throw to tie the game and force a 6th overtime. So it would have been 35-34. So it's just a point of like, just go fight. Who cares? Just go fight. And sure enough, he did it. So I think that's going to do it for the podcast. I do appreciate you guys stopping in and listening to me just pointlessly ramble tonight. I do appreciate that. Very much so, actually. Yeah, Gio, we'll have to get you on here sometime. It's gonna try and set that up ahead of time. We can get that going for sure. I'm all for somebody wanting to come on. But thanks for stopping in and checking out somewhat of a podcast. Swing hard in case you hit it. BP Hero. Catch you next time.